locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Rasslin.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome back to Duke Loves Rasslin, the show about pro wrestling and everything else. I'll tell you right now, folks, we had such an exciting show last week. Tremendous response there. You know, obviously we had the folks from Pro Wrestling Illustrated on, and that was a great conversation. But, you know, Layla Gray, literally one of the up-and-coming stars in pro wrestling today, you know, we've gotten some great response about her being on the show as well, which, surprise, surprise, you're seeing her all over the place. So that's no shock there, but it just goes to show Duke Loves Rasslin. It's a place to be. And I'm going to tell you right now, I want to keep this train going because I have somebody who knows Layla Gray pretty well. You know, actually broke into the wrestling business with Layla Gray and, you know, knew her even before then. And this is somebody who, once again, a rising star in independent scene, somebody who has been busting heads all over Florida his entire life. So I better be careful here. I don't want to piss this guy off because I might be next if I ever find myself down in Florida. You know, the Duke I just run my mouth. I'm not a fighter. I got to say this. But without further ado, welcome to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. He is the Outlaw, Luke Kurtis. What's going on there, Luke?
I'm going to go ahead and say right now that Duke doesn't have anything to worry about when it comes to me. I'm a big fan of Duke's. I'm a big fan of the podcast. You know, I'm going to take care of you, man. Hey, as a matter of fact, if you ever need a bodyguard, I got you, man.
I was going to say this here because, there are a couple of punks down there that I might need to straighten out. So I might need you, Outlaw Luke Kurtis, to handle some of these guys for me.
Hey, just give me the time and place, man. I'll be there.
Yeah,
free of charge for you, brother.
There's a punk, Isaiah Zane. You know, he's part of the Make It's. This guy, he was getting real smart with me the other day. I had these guys on the show, and they think they're a couple of wise guys and all this good stuff there. They were talking real tough. So I may need you to just beat all three of them up for me there, Outlaw Luke Kurtis. What do you think about that?
Okay, what do the Make It's, huh? Well, I know them very well. As a matter of fact, I've actually stepped in the ring with the Russell twins a couple times, and they got one, and I got one. So you know they're lucky that they got that one over on me. It was actually at Pro Wrestling 2.0, but the first bout, you know, we had taken the win on that one. As far as Isaiah Zane goes, me and Isaiah have never stepped in the ring with each other. I've seen him training. You know, he's pretty impressive. I've seen his matches, of course, too, and he's seen mine. But, you know, we haven't actually tussled before. But the Russell twins, yeah, we go back a little bit.
Well, first of all, Russell twins, the two of you can just line up single file and wait your turn because I'm going to tell you right now, the Outlaw, Luke Kurtis, is going to straighten the both of you out for the Duke. So that's number one. Okay. And number two, Isaiah Zane, you're nothing but a big talking, overstuffed punk, okay, who doesn't know what it means to be a big shot, who doesn't know what it means to be an outlaw, who doesn't know what it means to put it all on the line, to be one of the best on the independent scene in all of Florida, like my man Luke Kurtis. So here's how it's going to go down, okay? You need to get out of this business, get rid of your contract, and get out of our lives. And if not, I'm sending the Outlaw Luke Kurtis to straighten you out, Isaiah Zane. Okay, and that's coming straight from the Duke. That's right. What do you think about that, Luke Kurtis?
I think that is a plan that we can make happen. I think if Isaiah Zane wants to run his mouth about the Duke, then the Outlaw is going to make sure that the Duke is taken care of. And it's not only Florida, it's Texas too. So, you know, them states are going to start piling up soon.
That's right. That's right. And listen, this is important here because I think that we live in a world today where these keyboard warriors, these fake tough guys, you know, they run their mouths and they think they're so clever, you know, with their weird kind of humor and what have you. But you're a guy that, you know, you have a reputation for being a guy that gets things done. And I know that it even goes all the way back to when you spent time on the football field. So let's talk about this for a second, because you're originally from Florida, right?
That's right. From way down south, Homestead, Florida. I went to South Dade High School, where I was a amateur wrestler and a football player.
So, I mean, come on now. You're talking about South Dade High School. We're talking about a place where you couldn't just run your mouth. You had to prove who you were. You had to prove that you could actually back it up, right?
It was, shark-infested waters. But, I became a brother over there. So, we banded up and we were strong as a unit. Everybody took care of each other. We were from the same area. It was a tough life for a lot of us. We were pretty disenfranchised. We didn't have a lot of things, but we came together as a group and we became warriors together. And I feel like that's where I got a lot of my attitude, a lot of my strength, a lot of my personality. And it was definitely a character building experience, playing football in South Florida and wrestling in South Florida.
Outlaw Luke Kurtis, I'm not a person that played football on the level that you did, but I did play football growing up. And one of the things, I wasn't good at learning the plays. I was just good at hitting people. So that's what I did. I did a lot of the dirty work there, even though I'm a small guy. But one of the things that I learned is that once you take that first hit where somebody like really knocks the wind out of you and really straightens you out, and then you go out there and you start giving some of that punishment, you realize that you better be careful what you say and what you do, because there are consequences. Do you find that some of these punks that you got to deal with in wrestling, that they don't understand the consequences, or maybe they don't come from the same places that you come from, so they don't understand that they will get hurt if they mess with you?
I definitely feel like that's true. At the end of the day, I feel like a lot of these guys are playing wrestler, and I'm not playing wrestler. I am a wrestler. I've been a wrestler since I was 5 years old. And if anybody has a problem with that, we'll get in the ring and we'll work it out, But I definitely feel like people run their mouth and they think that they've done something because, they get out there and they dance around for people and they crack jokes and stuff like that and they make people laugh. But at the end of the day, I'm a heavy hitter and I'm a bruiser and born and bred. I was born and raised that way.
That's for sure. That's for sure. What does it mean to you to be an outlaw? Because, that moniker carries a lot with it. I mean, you really, really got to be a serious person here to be known as an outlaw. So what does that mean to you?
Being an outlaw is the foundation of who I am, especially in today's society with everything going on. And, the system can be so overwhelming for a lot of people, and the rules and even the social rules that are put on people. It's not something that I necessarily live my life by. I believe that I live the way that I need to live, and I do what makes me happy.
Whoa. So what are some of the rules that you've broken in wrestling so far? I mean, you can level with me here. I don't think that anyone is going to reverse the match decisions here. What's a rule that you enjoy breaking, Outlaw Luke Kurtis?
I don't think I've broken any rules in the ring, to tell you the truth. At the end of the day, if the referee doesn't see it, then it didn't happen, So the only way I look at it is I come out on top. I like to consider myself an opportunist, and I think that I'm better at taking opportunities than other people. And I think if you get caught slipping, then you get caught slipping, and that's it.
Listen, in the words of the great philosopher Beanie Siegel, you're either going to get down or you're going to lay down, right? That's the way it goes down. That's the way it goes down there.
And if you don't want to lay down, you're going to get put down.
That's right. That's right. I wonder about this, Outlaw Luke Kurtis, because I know that you have had some pretty solid matches, especially for a guy that is still fairly new in the wrestling industry here. If you could think of one or two people who you have learned the most from while in the ring, so I'm not talking about just trainers, I'm not talking about people who you've had conversations with, but I'm talking about people that you've mixed it up with in the ring. Who's somebody or a couple of somebodies who you've learned the most from in the ring, and what did you learn?
My first match was against a guy that goes by the name of Scyther. He barks and he growls. He's like an uncaged animal. I don't know what's up with him. And that was my first match in the business, and it was my first loss in the business. And he hooked my tights, and he broke a rule. And I think from that moment on, I understood that. And I was outclassing him in that match. I was bigger. I was stronger. I was dominating him. But he, sure enough, he hooked my tights. He rolled me up. He cheated for the win. And that's when I realized that I'll do whatever it takes to make the outcome go my way. So that's one person that kind of set me on the path of being somebody that does what he needs to do to get stuff done. I also wrestled Carlito. I learned so much from him in the ring. He's got a lot of attitude. He's got a lot of personality. And that's definitely something that I picked up on very quick. He was definitely trying to out-showman me in the ring. And that was something that I didn't take lightly. So I always vowed that after that I would step up my personality. I would step up my charisma, and I wouldn't let somebody up-show me, no matter who they are, where they've been. And I think the outcome of that match, will show that I learned some lessons in the ring as we were going. I evolved in that. And those I would say were two people that I've greatly benefited from. And there's many other people, but those are two matches that definitely, left a mark on me and set in motion who I am today and what I'm doing today in the ring.
You mentioned Texas. We've talked about your time in Florida, but you mentioned Texas, and I know. Listen, when it comes to Texas, there are a lot of people that think they're big and they're bad and they're tough. You can level with me here. Outlaw, Luke Kurtis, you're amongst friends here. What do you say? Do you have your eyes on anybody that you need to straighten out or what have you?
At SWE Fury, there's a lot of competition there. There's a lot of big name talent. The Blood Hunter, he wears a mask. He comes out with Selena De La Renta, and he's dominated people in the ring, and he's the champion. Charlie Haas is a champion over there, and Charlie Haas runs his mouth. You know exactly how Charlie Haas is. He's the loose cannon. He's somebody that I definitely have my eyes on. But these people have a lot of experience in this business, and it's definitely been a learning process dealing with that type of talent, that type of size. There's a lot of big boys out there in Texas, and you're right, the male talent is dominant. So dealing with that talent and trying to move up that card has been a struggle, but it's also been a blessing. I've learned from a lot of great minds, and it's been a lot of great experiences. So, and I enjoy the punishment, and I enjoy giving the punishment, and they work very punishing over there. It's a very punishing style. So it's definitely something that I've embraced, and I feel like it's something that's definitely going to make an impact in my career and my life in general. It's nice being around that, tough, but also courteous group of people, very kind people, but very rough and tough at the same time.
Well, listen, shout out to SWE Fury, James Beard, Rodney Mack, the Maverick. Okay, we're talking about Moonshine Mantell. These are friends of the show here at the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, and I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to see if we can figure out a way to get my man, the Outlaw Luke Kurtis, some more opportunities over there in good old SWE Fury, because I know that you're hungry. I know that you're chomping at the bit. You want to bring some pain to Texas the same way you've been doing it in Florida your entire life there, and what better place to do it than SWE Fury there. So that's pretty cool. Outlaw, talk to me about Layla Gray, because here is somebody who I know that you have a history with her. I know that, she's been in the business a short amount of time, but she's made a lot of waves. And, the word on the street is that, and look, I'm not trying to get into your personal business too much. I don't want to embarrass you or anything like that, but I'm hearing that you have a crush on Layla Gray. So do you need me to put in a good word for you or something like that?
You can put in a good word if you want. I don't have her phone number, so I don't even know how to get a hold of her, actually. So we got into the business at the same time. We're married. That's my wife. And she's really the main reason that I was able to get into this profession, because I was an amateur wrestler. I also did mixed martial arts. I used to train at a school called American Top Team with Yoel Romero. He's a UFC fighter. I didn't have any interest in professional wrestling, but she got me to go. And I had been on a bad path in life for a while. I was drinking a lot. I had a drug problem. A lot of different things that were really holding me back. I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't taking care of my mind. I was doing a job that I did not like. I was a mechanic. I hated it. It was a struggle. Just to find happiness, and I think that's why you turn to all these other things. And once we got into professional wrestling, I found like my true happiness. And being an amateur wrestler was always one of my greatest passions in life. And when I stopped doing that, I think that that's when everything started to kind of, go out of control and spiral the way that it did. But coming back to wrestling in this capacity and just the mindset that you need to have to do this, because it's such a mental game as much as it is a physical game, that it's really just given me something to look forward to in life, something to drive for, to push for. And it's just, it's been the greatest experience ever. And I think that, us getting into the business together has been huge for both of us, because we're able to bounce things off of each other. We live together, so we'll wrestle in the apartment, go over moves, work on stuff. We can get in the ring together, just me and her, and we can come up with new combinations, new moves, different sets that we think are going to benefit each of us depending on where we're booked, or, it's just so many things that go into professional wrestling, and having like a tag team partner like in life has been a blessing, and it's definitely been one of the reasons why, because wrestling gets hard sometimes, especially when you're training and you have moments where you break down and you think that you can't do this and it's too hard and you're not grasping something. And to have somebody there with you that's also going through the same thing, also struggling the same way, when you're able to push through together, it builds a really strong bond, and it sets a good foundation. So I know that I'm rooted into this business now. I've gotten to that point. I have no more doubts. I have no more fears. I have no more worry and angst that this is something that I cannot do. I know that this is something that I can do the same way that she does. And I think we've built that confidence up together. And I think it's a beautiful thing, if you ask me.
It sure is. It sure is. And how dare you try to just slide that one in there? Oh, I train at a place called American Top Team with, you all Romero. You may have heard of him, Come on,
I don't
man.
know. I don't know, man. Some people I haven't heard.
Oh,
I don't know who I'm
listen,
talking. I got to set an audience.
we have had, a good friend of the show is Dan the Beast Severin, UFC Hall of Famer. I think he was the first inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
one of the greatest fighters of all time. We've had Ken Shamrock on the show. We are very, this is definitely a combat sports friendly show here at Duke Loves Rasslin.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Yes. Love the sport. Been a lifelong fan myself. And, when you talk about American Top Team, Bobby Lashley has trained there. Thunder Rosa has trained there. It legitimately, and I know that they have different training facilities. They even have one down in the Atlanta area. ATT is a premier mixed martial arts training apparatus there. I mean, they're serious, so it's interesting to hear that the foundation of your MMA background is from there, and you have a background in wrestling even before then. No wonder you're the Outlaw. No wonder you're a guy that can bust heads the way you do.
That's right. And I haven't even shown all the creativity and the different side of combat that I have in store, so as I continue to grow and there's more matches, and I don't know, I guess it's time for me to break out some new stuff. You're going to see some different type of a different style of, fighting and combat and wrestling, and the way I meld it all together. So,
well, I'm really excited about that, because one of the things I respect about you, Outlaw Luke Kurtis, is the fact that, I'm not into this whole flippy, dippy, spin 'em around, skippy nonsense that these guys are doing these days. I can't stand it. It really irritates me, because I'm a purist, and I want to see something that is a fight. I don't want to see playtime, right? And you're not a playtime kind of guy. You're a guy that just gets in there and gets it done. And especially with your wrestling background, with your MMA background, if some guy comes up to you and is doing some flippy nonsense, I'm pretty sure you're just going to punch him in the face, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to knock it. Yeah, if he wants to jump at me, I'm going to knock him out the air. If he wants to, no matter what he does, I'm going to catch him one way or another. But yeah, I'm throwing haymakers.
Damn right. So what is it going to be here, Outlaw Luke Kurtis? What can we expect 2021, when this year is all said and done? What are some of the things that we can expect you to have accomplished in this great year here?
I don't know exactly what's in store for me in 2021, but I know that if I keep doing everything that I'm doing every single day, that the doors are just going to continue to fly open. And I know that there's big opportunities out there for me, and I'm not rushing anything. What I'm working on is trying to become the best professional wrestler that I can become. no matter what that takes. And I know that when my time to shine comes, I will be ready. So wherever I end up, or whatever happens in this year, I know it's going to be big for me, and I know it's going to be exciting. So keep following what I'm doing, and big things are on the horizon.
And I know that, the outlaw Luke Kurtis, if anyone wants to check him out, WrestleMania weekend, he is going to be part of that crazy, crazy card with GCW. I know on the Saturday, he is going to knock somebody out then. So you definitely want to check it out, folks. This is why I keep telling you, GCW Generation Championship Wrestling, you want to be a part of their WrestleMania weekend card, Friday and Saturday. Check it all out. It's can't miss entertainment. Some of the top stars from around the whole wrestling landscape, some new stars, especially the outlaw Luke Kurtis, especially Layla Gray. You folks are going to see them that weekend, WrestleMania weekend, GCW. Ain't that right there, outlaw Luke Kurtis?
That's right. Get ready, because you're going to see, Layla Gray in store. You're going to see myself in store. It's going to be the Seminole Showdown. That's the event that I'm going to be working. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Just come out for that whole weekend. GCW is going to be doing so many different things, so many different shows. You don't know exactly where each wrestler is going to end up. Things change all the time. I might be here, I might be there, but you're definitely going to see the outlaw Luke Kurtis WrestleMania weekend for GCW.
That's right. That's right. And listen, I got to tell you right now, Jeremy Gomez, don't mess this up. All right. I'm telling you right now, Gomez, I know that sometimes you can be a little evil over there. You let the power go to your head, being the head booker over there in GCW. The outlaw Luke Kurtis is a man that is just about getting it done in the ring. Don't play your games with him, Gomez. Don't send your little minions to give this guy a hard time, because he's going to send them all back, and they're going to be in a worse way than when you originally sent them out. You better believe that. Listen, outlaw Luke Kurtis, why don't you tell everybody the best way that they can follow you online, they can check out what you have going on, merchandise, the whole 9 yards. What's the best way to check you out, man?
Okay, so on Instagram, it's outlaw underscore Luke Kurtis. That's Kurtis with a K. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. It's at the underscore Luke Kurtis. I wish everything was the same. And then check me out on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on YouTube. Just search Luke Kurtis. That's with a K. And you'll see some wrestling, and you'll see some good stuff. And as far as merch goes, we're still working on merch. 8x10s. You can hit me up. We do merch stuff on social media all the time, or at shows. Just follow me on social media. You get an inside look at our life. Watch my stories. I always post about things that we're doing with the dog, or me and Layla, or when we go out to eat, or just different things that we do, events that we attend, and you get a good inside look at our life, and have a lot of fun, man.
Damn right. Before I let you go, I got to ask you this, because I last week I asked Layla about if she was going to put on a Dominican feast, what kind of food would she serve? And I told her, and I say this on the show often. Food and music. These are the two mediums that I feel, from a cultural aspect, is the best way that people can connect with each other. You know what I mean? If you and I can find common ground around food or around music, then we can build, and we can really have a relationship from there. So I'm going to ask you this. The outlaw Luke Kurtis, you're a Florida guy, you're Miami-Dade guy, you're a guy that loves outlaw music, especially hip hop. So give me your list there. If I want to get some training done, if I want to be like the outlaw Luke Kurtis, give me 5 songs on your mix. What are 5 songs in order that I need to listen to in order to get my mind right to train like the outlaw Luke Kurtis?
I like Pop Smoke. If you want to listen to some modern day hip hop to get hype, get ready to go out there and really train hard, I would listen to Pop Smoke. He's got a lot of good music. Song called Fashion. That's a good song. I like death metal. There's a lot of death metal on my playlist because, I like it hardcore. I would listen to like Symbolic, Hammer Smashed Face, Slaughter of the Soul. It's like some hardcore death metal music. Obviously down here, we listen to Rick Ross. If you want to put on some hustling, that's the theme song of any Miami person, anybody that was born and raised in the day 305 till they die. Rick Ross is the way to go. Every day we're hustling. We just work hard. We hustle hard. And that's the Miami lifestyle. And it pays off.
His name is the Outlaw Luke Kurtis, and he is hustling. Every day he's hustling. Thank you for joining us, Outlaw Luke Kurtis.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Can't wait to do it again.
Hi, this is Earl Oliver from Sully's Vintage Wrestling.
This is Raj Geary with WrestlingInc.com.
This is Sean Reed, boxing writer and undercover low-key wrestling fan, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin. Woo!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to this week's edition of Duke Loves Rasslin. This is the one, the only, the young professor coming at you live out of Central Florida. We'll just leave it there because I'm all over the place. And folks, this is a big landmark week. You're hearing this on a Thursday night, and that means that tomorrow morning is the day before WrestleMania. And WrestleMania week in the host town is always a big one, folks, because all of professional wrestling as an industry will descend upon the host city. In this case, it is Tampa, Florida, and some of the best and finest independent names in all of pro wrestling will be in town. I will be involved. I will be involved with Generation Championship Wrestling. And folks, I have been given the opportunity to run my own show with a lot of the hottest rising stars in all of professional wrestling. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Friday morning as part of Generation Championship Wrestling's We Run This Town. It's going to be called Best in Class with the Young Professor. GCW Rising, Best in Class.
You know, Young Professor, I got to tell you, I don't know how you were able to pull this. Actually, I do know how you were able to pull this off. And I don't normally talk about my personal business on the show too much, but I guess I can here. You promised me that if I allowed you to promote this major mega event, WrestleMania weekend, that you would make some calls and get that B taken off of my college transcript. So I think I've done enough to kind of provide a space for you to promote Best in Class with the Young Professor. So are you going to take care of that transcript for me or what?
Well, let's see how the show goes first. They either will definitely want to talk to me afterwards or they'll never want to speak to me again. And I'm really hoping it's the former and not the latter.
Listen, man, I'm very excited and very proud of the fact that every single time the Young Professor comes on Duke Loves Rasslin, he has leveled up from the last time. And it is just such a thrill to see you put this amazing card together. Literally some of the top up-and-coming stars on the independent wrestling scene, especially in the greater Florida area here. I mean, Jesus, how did you manage to get yourself? First of all, you're a professor. You know, you're a trivia host. You are a guy that does announcing and commentating. Now you're booking a show. Next week, you're probably going to run for president. I mean, what the hell is going on here?
Let's not get crazy. I have no political aspirations whatsoever. I'm too busy trying to get everyone to like me, not only half of people. And that's how you have to play the game in politics. So I'd like to keep my net a bit wider. So let's start with that.
I don't know, man. I think you might be able to pull it off, Professor. Don't sell yourself short now.
You can't. You pick a color, you lose half the people. And that's, you got to pick a color. That's the way it goes. It's unfortunate, but that's the nature of the beast.
That's it. Well, all right. So talk to me about being a promoter here. You're putting together what I assume is your first official card, and you managed to pull in some really, really strong names here. I mean, how did you pull this off, man?
You know what? It had very humble beginnings. So I don't deem myself a promoter per se. I mean, I am operating under Generation Championship Wrestling. I'm a member of the creative team, so I am on I'm in the committee where we make some of the decisions and bring in some of the talent and help with promotional materials. But we're running this all day event, and it starts at 9 a.m. That's what time Medusa and ODB are going to be doing the first thing of the day, which is their event called Breakfast of Champions, where they're literally serving breakfast. I mean, ODB, of course, has the meet and greet food truck. And so she's going to be serving breakfast. And Medusa, WWE Hall of Famer Medusa, Alundra Blaze, they're going to be serving breakfast, little meet and greet, some photos and all that stuff. And then we've got an all day of wrestling, and it's a multi-promotional effort. We've got 2 different promotions coming in from the great state of Texas. We've got Boot and Heel, which is, traditionally been a merchandising firm for independent professional wrestlers, but they have had some sponsorship and involvement in various promotions, and they're bringing in a lot of their athletes. And then, of course, Generation Championship Wrestling. But we were getting ready to start at noon, and we know that we're there. The building's opening early. The first thing is happening at 9, and there was no wrestling in the morning. And after some discussion amongst members of the group, we said, well, we've got this morning slot. Does anybody want to do it? And nobody put their hand on it. Oh, that might be too early. That was the kind of hemming and hawing we had. And I said, you know what? Give me the ball and let's run with it. I said, I don't think it's too early. We've promoted this as an all-day event. I think we can do something cool, and I think that we'll have availability. And I said, and you know what? As WrestleMania comes up in these events, now that I have access to social media accounts, every wrestler and their mother is messaging promoters left and right, like, hey, brother, let me get on this show. I want to work. I want to come work for you. Here's my stuff. Let me work. But on these Mania Week shows, you see a lot of top indie talent. And that it's a testament to them and the work that they've done, the names that they possess. But it's a lot of the same big names that are going and working in all these shows, which is great because fans need to be able to see them. But I said, you know what? Let's turn this into a show for maybe some people that are not as well known, that might not otherwise get that kind of opportunity. And let's give them a chance to shine and a place to work. It's a morning show. So that was how it started. And I had a few people very specifically in mind that I wanted to approach, that I've worked with in my travels here throughout the Southeast. And I started putting it together. And as that happened, more and more names came up, more and more people expressed interest, and even names that they were like, why didn't you reach out to us? I said, well, I didn't want to insult you. I'm running this early morning kind of, not throwaway or bonus show, but that was kind of the initial thing. It was like, hey, look, we have the spot. Let's just bring some people in that nobody really knows and let's do something with it. And it has just turned into so much more.
It certainly has. Let's talk about some of the wonderful talents that you have on the card, because, many of them have actually been here on the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, which is really fun. But why don't you outline for us? What's the card going to look like?
So we're going to open the show. Our first match right out of the gate is going to be between 2 ladies that I have had a chance to work with, and I think the world needs to see. We've got T. Gaines, very young T. Gaines, trained out of Flatback. She's got a powerlifting and Olympic lifting background. She's going to be taking over your guest from last week. And the first person I called for this show, Layla Gray. And I just want everybody to know, I know she's booked on Mission Pro. I know she's out in Texas. I know she's been on AEW. I announced her for Best in Class before all that happened. I'm not saying that that's causal, but I wouldn't know. I was the first one to arrive as that train started leaving on the tracks. Next up, so we've got some tag team action. We've got the Demon Daddies, known as Dakota. Pretty well-known, interesting tag team based here in Florida. They are a demon sex cult, so that's interesting. We got a little bit of everything. They're the goth kids in Best in Class. And they're going to be taking on the team of a medieval knight and a space cowboy, which is an interesting pairing, but one that I'm very excited to see because those two, I don't know if you saw it yesterday, Duke, but we posted a promo that they put together. They did an actual silent film that went out yesterday that was remarkably entertaining.
Well, Professor, I wanted to talk to you about that because everybody is just putting together such great promos for this event. And I know that you're going to announce more of the matches, but my goodness, just the promos and everything leading up to it is just top notch, man. This is, I would give you an A on this exam if this were an exam here.
You know what? This is one of the few times where I would take an A here, and I really can't take the credit for it. I've been driving the train, but the responsibility has been up to these people involved, and I've never seen this, and I've been on a lot of shows. If I run the numbers, looking through my calendar for the last 3.5 years, I've been a part of more than 200 professional wrestling shows. I've called over 1,000 matches easily in one way, shape, or form. And I've never had a show where this much of the talent was so invested prior to the event in putting out quality material to help promote it, to help get eyes and recognition on it as I have for this show. And it's been all them. I mean, I've been encouraging it and giving deadlines and being very transparent about my aim, and they've just knocked it out of the park. And I really want to give a big shout out to one of the tag teams that's going to be in our semi-main event, and that's the main event. That's Ringleader Midas and Jay Lyon. They're known as the main event. They're based out of the Northeast, so they're up your way, Duke. But they were the first ones to send me a promo where they challenged Culture Inc., and they did it. They went to the Bronx, and they shot a promo on the same staircase as where they filmed that pretty iconic scene in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker film. The minute I saw it, I got goosebumps because I knew that they went out of their way to find a unique, interesting setting to kind of kick things off. And that was the first thing anyone saw from this show. And everybody had to reach that bar. And I feel like every single person did.
They sure have. They sure have. And I'll tell you, once again, this is just an A, possibly an A+ card here. I mean, if you were to say one match in particular that you think is really going to bring the house down, I know they're all your babies here, but come on, Professor, you can level with me here. What do you think is the one that may steal the show?
They all have that potential, and that's not a cop-out answer, but I think the one that most people will come away talking about, because these two teams have been looking for a place to get off the ground, is the match between the main event and Culture Inc. I know you've had Malik Bosidi here on the show. He is a great friend of mine. I've known him for years, and I love that guy. And he and his partner, Eli Knight, and their manager, Nick Holliday, are as talented a group of guys as you've ever seen. They're here in Florida. The main event is based out of the New York area. They're both incredible, and they are meeting for the first time at Best in Class with an opportunity at the GCW Tag Team Championships for the nighttime show on the line. So it's high stakes. It's going to be tremendously athletic. And I think that has all the potential to really be a show across the entire weekend at any promotion anywhere that people will want to see and will want to see again.
Now, we had the Outlaw Luke Kurtis on, literally just hung up with him, and now I'm talking to you here. Is there something going on Saturday as well? Because you keep talking about this amazing card on Friday, but what the heck's going on Saturday, Professor?
So Saturday, actually, a good friend of mine and a politician in the city of Longwood, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando, Matt Morgan, is a part of an effort to raise money for a new medical facility that is an opioid addiction recovery center that is opening up in Seminole County, just outside of Orlando. And he is coming out of retirement, and he's actually going to be taking on one of the other city commissioners named Chris Anderson. So they are getting ready to square off, and they, as part of this massive fundraiser event that's going to have a lot of bells and whistles that a lot of your typical political fundraisers would have, they're also bringing some wrestling. So Generation Championship Wrestling is going to be bringing a few talents out there, and we're going to have a couple matches. And Luke Kurtis is going to be there, as well as Layla Gray. I'm not prepared to lay out the entire card at this time, but I do know who the talents are going to be. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but that's going to be a show that I think we're going to have some footage of. I hope so, but it's going to be a great event, and I know we're going to light the whole Seminole County on fire and let them know that GCW is in that area, and we're going to do a lot of good for a lot of folks in that area as well.
It just seems like GCW is expanding, running very, very strong. Shout out to Jeremy Gomez there. I'm wondering if you can get me that autographed memorabilia for Candy Gomez. She's one of my heroes there. I love Candy. So just want to put that out there, Professor. I'm still waiting for you to help me out there.
I actually can probably help you out with that, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'll see what I can do.
Good, because my master plan is to invade GCW and take over the company so that Candy Gomez can be the sole owner and operator of G. She is going to be the Linda McMahon of GCW. Okay, that's the goal here. Don't tell Gomez, don't tell Jeremy I said that, but I can let you in on that secret because we're good friends here, Professor.
I'll never let him catch wind of it.
So Professor, once again, Friday, tell us one last time here, because I know folks listening are interested, and a lot of folks can be checking out some seats. I hear that the real top of the line seats, it looks like you guys have sold out of those already. What's going on with that?
Yeah, well, you know what? As a morning show, especially as we kind of put it together, we wanted to make it accessible, give people an affordable way to come start their wrestling weekend off with us. I don't think there's any other shows running that early, so we're in a very unique position that we're not up against any competition. But general admission tickets are only $5. They're $10 for ringside. We are now, I believe we're sold out of ringside. We had 2 left as of yesterday. I have to check with Gomez. Gomez has all the numbers there. But we were that close to being sold out. But then, I mean, we added a massive main event that developed on Twitter, and that is former WWE superstar, MLW champion, AAA champion, Lio Rush, and Casey Navarro. They got a lot of bad blood, and they're going to be in our main event. We've got so much cool stuff, man. We're going to have a 6-man scramble that is going to be a schoolyard rules, a schoolyard scramble that I think is going to be one that is going to be wildly entertaining. We've got Viva Las Amish and Betsy the Chicken are there. They're going to be taking on your buddies, the Make-Its. Jake Painter, JC Vega are squaring off. They got a lot of bad blood. The baddest black belt, Janai Kai, Killer Kate, who is a ground wrestling specialist. It's just going to be top to bottom outstanding, man. I can't wait. I'm so grateful to all these folks for wanting to come do this show. And I think of all the shows happening, and not just because I'm on it or running it, we've got a unique feel, we've got a unique theme, and I think we are going to over-deliver in every respect, and this is going to be one that folks are going to be talking about for a very long time.
Professor, why don't you let everybody know, because you're talking about the cards, and it's fantastic. Again, I'm just so proud of you doing this, man. Let people know how they can follow you and reach out to you, because you legitimately, and I've said this a million times before, and I'm going to say it again, a lot of people out there's a lot of promoters that listen to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, and I appreciate that. The young professor, pound for pound, he is the number one commentator, the number one ring announcer, and behind the scenes, he is as respected and appreciated because he does the right thing. He doesn't try to screw anybody over. He doesn't sit there and try to bury anybody. All he ever does is try to help people, and that's the main reason why he has such a great reputation. Truly the type of person that you want around your talents there, especially young talents, because despite the fact that the young professor is a young man in his own right, the fact that he has been a professor, an actual professor, it's not just a gimmick, he understands how to work with people, how to organize people, how to make them feel like they matter, while at the same time making sure that they're doing the right thing. I mean, truly, this guy just has it all here. Let everybody know how they can stay in touch with you and follow you, and if they want to reach out for opportunities there, Professor, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, first off, thank you for the very, very kind words, Duke. I really appreciate it. And I do want to go on record as saying you have easily been my favorite person to talk to in all of media over the years, not because you're the first guy to ever talk to me, but there's a reason I keep circling back and getting with you and speaking to you personally outside of here. I love what you do. I think you're a tremendous asset to the entire wrestling community. And on behalf of everybody, whether they've asked me to do this or not, I thank you for the service you provide to all of us, because you help us level up and move to those next levels by the opportunities that you provide for people. And I know what you do for folks behind the scenes too. And the fact that you've got such reach and influence, and you live completely a country away almost from most of us, is a testament to your work, good sir. But as for how you can find me, folks, The Young Professor is the name, and that is all you got to type into the old search bar. If you look for The Young Professor on Facebook, you'll find me there. The handles are a little different on Twitter and Instagram, but if you type in The Young Professor, I'm right at the top of that search. So if you can remember that much, you can find me, and you'll probably see me again and again interacting or appearing here with my good friend Duke on Duke Loves Rasslin.
Now, Professor, before I let you go, and first of all, you just shined me up really, really good here. And I got this big bald head of mine, so it's glistening now. You didn't shine me up, Professor. Okay. I can't let you go.
Duke. We all got to shine this week, brother.
That's it, brother. That's it. But I can't let you go without talking about food, because I know that your lovely better half, she's just done such a great job with her business there. She's baking all the sweets and what have you. And we talked about that before, just how amazing that has taken off and what have you. So I need to know, man, for WrestleMania weekend here, for Best in Class weekend here, what is the go-to thing that Mrs. Young Professor is putting together here to kind of hit that sweet tooth of yours?
Well, I tell you what, for the folks that are going to be at Best in Class, my wife Shanna and her business, Cakes by Shanna, is going to be there as a vendor at the show all day for We Run This Town. And she is bringing some sweets to sell at a sweet price that will certainly keep that sweet tooth engaged firmly. And she is tremendous at what she does. And I'm excited to have her there to just be there at the show, but also to promote her business, get it out there, and have some good treats for all of our fans that are going to be there. So she'll be, I don't know, she's making some, rather than cupcakes, they're cakes in cups, which are neater and cleaner and easier to eat, actually. And I think she's going to have some other sweets there as well. I am not good at anything in the kitchen other than devouring what you put in front of me. So I don't know what she firmly has on the menu. I certainly have enough on my own plate right now, but I know she's going to be baking up a storm today and tomorrow as we head out to Tampa. And if I could ever give any endorsement for this woman, we met just over 8 years ago. And before I met that woman and she moved into my house, I weighed 30 pounds less. So if that's not an endorsement for what she's able to do in terms of food, I don't know what is.
Now, listen, man, I got to say this, Professor. I'm still a little frustrated with the fact that Shanna is a little upset with me because, like you said, it's a cake in a cup. I didn't even know that existed. So forgive me for calling it a cupcake when it's actually a cake in a cup. I need you to go back and let her know I need to be taken out of detention here. I apologize. I will get it right this time. Cakes by Shanna, a cake in a cup. Not a cupcake. Tell her I'm going to get it right this time. So that means that she can finally allow me to purchase a couple there, because she banned me because I had the audacity to question whether or not it was a cupcake, and she said, "No, Duke, it's a cake in a cup."
I tell you what, she would ban you, man, and I don't know if I can talk her off it. But let's face it, you're more likely to get out of tension with her sooner than I am. So I'll do what I can on my end, and that's all I can promise you.
This is Alexa.
And this is Brianna.
And we're Sugar and Spice. And you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
This is Drizzy, 1/3 of Power Ups and Power Bombs, and this is Duke Loves Rasslin.
My man, Drizzy, listen, I've been a big fan of the Sixth God. I've spent some time in Canada, so what I like about you, Drizzy Drake, is the fact that, in my opinion, you're kind of the heir apparent to Jay-Z. And I know a lot of folk give you a hard time, Drizzy, because you do a lot of rapping and you say that you don't mind rapping for the ladies, but I'm like that too, because I'm a smooth cat myself. So it is an honor to have Drizzy Drake on the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast.
That is hilarious.
Hold on. This is Drizzy Drake, the Sixth God, right?
Nah, you got to come down a little bit. You got to come down a few states, maybe a country.
I got to talk to my producer about this, because the email that I got said that I'm going to have Drizzy on Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. And I did think that was kind of interesting, because I know that, we've been gaining some momentum, but I didn't realize we were that big. So are you not Drake?
I am not.
Man.
But don't worry. I get that a lot, though. I get it a lot.
Damn. I can't listen, man. I didn't think that things were going to go in this direction now. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, Drizzy, who's not Drake, welcome to the show. How you doing, brother?
Thank you. I am great. It is a beautiful day. Just happy to be here.
Now, where are you at, Drizzy?
I am in Louisville, Kentucky, home of OVW.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're not Drake, but you're all right, because you're a Louisville guy. Okay. I can deal with that. Now you got to tell me, how do I pronounce it right? Because I'm a Boston guy, and we have our own little accent. Is it Louisville or is it Louisville? Which one is it here?
It's Louisville.
Okay,
You
Louisville.
ain't got to put too much emphasis on the Louis. It's just Louisville. Just let it flow. Just let it flow.
All right, so if it's Louisville, then why do y'all have to spell it the way that you spell it? What's going on here?
I wasn't there when they made all this happen, but the people that make the decisions are way higher up on the food chain than we are.
Drizzy, I'm having a real difficult time here. First of all, you're not Drake. You're not in Canada, so you're not the Sixth God. And now I find out that you weren't one of the people to name Louisville and figure out how to spell it. So this is, I'm just striking out with my questions here.
It's all right. It happens. It happens.
Listen, brother, you have a podcast that is really, really interesting. You've been gaining some steam online for it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so happy that you're on the show today, because literally Power Ups and Power Bombs, it's a podcast by Black folk. We are a subsection of the fan base that folk don't hear enough from. And it is really, really wonderful to see that more Black owned and Black hosted podcasts are out there, so we can finally get more perspective, right? Because you're no less of a fan than anybody else. So talk to me about the Power Ups and Power Bombs podcast.
Power Ups and Power Bombs is literally three friends that gained friendship through wrestling. Like, it was always meant to be a wrestling thing, but it just turned into a Black wrestling thing. Because we do tend to gravitate a little bit more toward the Black wrestlers from the indies to the mainstream. But we want to share our love of wrestling with all our friends. If you're a fan of us, all of our fans. If you don't like us, we want you to still talk to us. Like, it's just all about the love of wrestling, and it's also got a funny name.
Well, that's pretty cool. Now, when we say power ups, what are we talking about here? Because when I hear power up, I'm thinking like in a video game, or even when Hulk Hogan used to start hulking up and what have you. Is that what a power up is as it relates to the podcast?
So I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Originally, the show was supposed to be an anime and wrestling podcast. So the power ups would have been like the Gokus and stuff like that, and the power bombs would have been the wrestling moves. But you can easily switch it to both. So when we did the wrestling, just like what you said, when Hulk Hogan hulks up, whenever your partner's reaching out for the hot tag, that's the power up. And then your power bombs are your big moves, your power, like your literal power bombs. Like, it's just something that worked out as a double. Like, it really hit on two different levels.
So I got to ask you this, because this is really interesting. So the Power Ups and Power Bombs podcast, which is a pro wrestling podcast now, today, it originally was supposed to be an anime podcast. So let's combine the two worlds here for a second, because we know that the pro wrestling audience definitely loves anime.
Yes.
If you were to pick one character from your favorite anime, who do you think would make the best world wrestling champion, and why?
The best world wrestling champion, I have to give it to Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. He cuts promos like nobody else. He's the prince. I'm the prince of all Saiyans. Every time he talks, all he's missing is a belt.
Okay, there it is. Vegeta, he is the. Now, if you were to relate him to any pro wrestler that you've ever seen in your lifetime, who do you think he's the most like?
He's like The Miz. I could give him The Miz, except he's a lot more skilled. He'd be a more skilled Miz. That'd be the best way to do it. Or an MJF. There we go.
Now, hold on a second. Okay, Drizzy. You see, I done already forgiven you for not being Drake, and then you're going to turn around and disrespect the first ballot future Hall of Famer, the A-lister, okay, the Miz, by trying to claim that in a backhanded way, by the way, that MJF is more skilled. I mean, come on, what is that all about, Drizzy? What are you talking about here, man?
And I'm a Miz fan. That's the crazy thing about it. I'm a Miz fan. I believe that MJF does a lot more things that the Miz doesn't do, but MJF, change that. MJF can do a lot more than what Miz does, but Miz tells better stories. Now, granted, MJF is younger. He's got time to learn that, where Miz has been in for a longer period of time. but Miz tells way better stories.
Okay, so anyone listening right now, you can send your hate mail to Drizzy of the Power Ups and Power Bombs podcast, not to Drizzy Drake, the Six God, but to
That is
Drizzy from
Drizzy with a Y. Drizzy with a Y. Send it to me. I come for smoke.
That's
Send
it.
me smoke.
This man is a walking inferno. I can feel the heat all the way here in Boston. I can't believe you would actually be so disrespectful to claim that MJF in any way, on any level, is better than The Miz at anything. I mean, even when it comes to waking up in the morning, MJF, if he ever believes he could wake up in the morning better than The Miz, he better drive to The Miz's mansion and he better apologize, okay? Because that's just not even a possibility.
I'm pretty sure MJF has tried. I'm pretty sure he has. I wouldn't put it past him at all. I would not put it past him.
But what's your take, Drizzy, on this whole deal with the fans starting to take sides? I mean, we've always had that in the fandom. We've always had that. I'm a guy that grew up in the '80s, and back in I feel like an old man now. Back in my day, WWF, NWA, AWA, these were the promotions. And forget about it when you start talking about Japan and what have you, because Japan was a catch-all, whether it was All Japan or New Japan. But, primarily in North America, those were the promotions that everyone would argue about who's the best. And then you had other things like World Class, which was on ESPN, later Global Wrestling Federation. So it's not uncommon for people to have a favorite promotion. And a lot of folks these days, they want to say, well, can't we all just be fans? Why do we have to pick sides? It's like, that's part of fandom, at least in my opinion. What's your take on that, Drizzy? Do you like the concept of people picking sides, or do you feel that it's a little overdone?
I like picking sides. I'm all for it. In my day, I was a WCW kid. I watched all the episodes. I might occasionally flip over to see what WWE is doing, but for the most part, I would start Nitro and I'm ending with Nitro. And it's healthy. You're allowed to have what you prefer. There's no need in sitting there stopping there like, nah, this is better. You don't need to watch. Like, no. Watch what you want to watch. Let them have what they want to have. Let people enjoy. I say it all the time. Let people enjoy things. There's no need in sitting there saying and bashing the other ones. Yes, all of wrestling does bad things. But just watch and be happy. I mean, we have wrestling almost 7 nights a week now. Like, we got to enjoy this while we can, because we don't know when this will go.
I'm glad you said that, Drizzy, because you're absolutely right. I mean, again, I'm an 80s baby, born in 82. I can remember from the moment I was born till about, I would say about 93, 94. It was, I had pro wrestling on television every single day. There was never a day where I could not find at least one wrestling program. I had cable, Cablevision at the time, which was still pretty early. But ESPN would show World Class Championship Wrestling Monday through Friday. It would come on right after school, so somewhere between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Later on, in the late 80s and early 90s, Global Wrestling Federation took over that time slot, but they were also based in Dallas, Texas. But I got to see that every day. Then you have, on either Mondays or Tuesdays, depending on the time period there. It started off as Tuesdays and then transitioned into Mondays. The WWF, they would have their programming. And on Saturday mornings, the WWF would have their programming. Now Mondays or Tuesdays would be the USA Network, just like it is today. But on Saturdays, you would have, Superstars or Wrestling Challenge. That would be on our regional stations here, whether it be like a Fox station or something like that. Saturday nights was definitely NWA, which transitioned into WCW. You'd see that on TBS, but they also had a syndicated wrestling program that would come on Sundays. So, and then you had, your local federations like ICW here in Boston. Sometimes I would pick up UWF, on some of the sports channels on cable and things like that. My point is, I grew up with wrestling on television every day. It was a common occurrence. Once we hit 94, 95, that all went away. and it had not come back since until the internet started allowing us to have more access, which provided more options, which has driven cable to go back to showing more wrestling content like we have today. But you're right, man. We better enjoy it while we can, because it can go away any moment here, right? That's deep.
Literally in the pandemic, we literally almost lost a whole company because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
NWA was not, and at the time, NWA was doing some of the best work.
Truth. Absolutely. They were fantastic. And I really love the emergence of Thunder Rosa. What her and Allison Kay did, they put on some of the best wrestling that you'd see anywhere. Those two women. And you're right. For an hour-long show, the NWA, pound for pound, was probably the best wrestling show we had going for about a year there. And then the pandemic made all that go away. And I don't know if they're ever going to get back to where they were with that type of momentum. I know they just started running shows again, and it's been a long layoff there. But a lot has changed since then.
I don't know if you remember how when TNA NWA started, where you got to pay for the weekly shows.
Sure.
You got to pay like $5 a show now. So,
yeah. And I don't think they'll ever get that. I don't think the momentum is ever going to swing back their way if that's the way they're going to present their product. And that's too bad, because they had something good for a short amount of time there. You know, I wonder, Drizzy, because clearly you're a guy who's a lifelong fan and you know what you're talking about. Just some of the things that you've brought up, not only here on this show, but also on your own podcast, Power Ups and Power Bombs. One of the things that a lot of folks don't understand is that podcasting is not easy. Everybody thinks it's easy, right? Everybody thinks they can do it.
No, it is not easy in the slightest. I have been podcasting it'll be a year in June or July.
Wow.
And it'll be a year in July.
Wow.
And the first podcast I even started on wasn't even a wrestling podcast. It was just literally like a breakfast club type thing where we just talk about whatever was going on in the world. And then that branched off into me and my wife doing a relationship podcast. And at the same time, then Power Ups and Power Bombs came up. And I've learned literally different things from all those things and from other people. And this is not easy. You got to make sure your research is correct. You got to make sure that you're presenting things in a fashion that is understandable. You got to make sure that your equipment is correctly working. We've had a few episodes that sound like we're underwater.
You know, you just brought up something so interesting. I'll tell you a funny story, because I have a second show as well, Tell Us the Truth, which is a show that deals with systemic racism, and that's in partnership with iHeartRadio. I upgraded my mic because I was using the Blue Snowball for a while, and that had gotten me where I needed to be when I wasn't in the actual studio. I was using the Blue Snowball in my home studio, but I recently bought a Blue Yeti Nano, and I had no clue that you couldn't just position the mic where you're talking on top of it. You actually got to speak to it from the side. So the first couple of episodes of both shows, when I was using this Blue Yeti Nano, sounded terrible. And here I am 5 years into the game, brother, and I'm still making those types of mistakes because I didn't know how to use my mic. I didn't know how to position it properly. So you're absolutely right when it comes to the sound. The sound is so important. And once you figure it out, it makes all the difference. But until you figure it out, those are some real growing pains, right?
Yes. As the podcast I started on is still going on, and they've been doing it a little bit longer than me, and they still go through these issues. And it's getting to they're just now getting an actual interface for everything because they're gonna incorporate video soon, and it's a complete and utter learning curve. I think their last episode that they tried to record, somehow, some way, in it being loaded to the computer, completely deleted.
Man, let me tell you something. That has happened to me more times than I want to remember. And it is so heartbreaking because here's the problem. You never get the content as well the second time you try to do it as you did the first time.
It seems like every single time. It's like that first time is magic. You can feel it in there. It's like it's magic. Like this is going to be a great episode. And then you hit that button, look at it again, and file not found. I'm like, what?
Once you've done all the recording, do you do your own production? Do you edit your own audio and all that stuff? You do. Okay. So and I know anyone listening right now, this is under the hood stuff. This is about podcasting and the challenges that come along with it. Because again, it is not easy. I don't care who you are. You cannot come off the street and start podcasting and be successful. It's going to take some time. But when it comes to the editing of the podcast, what's some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome? Because I'm sure in the beginning you weren't an expert, but you kind of had to learn by fire, right?
The first few episodes of the ones that I was editing, it was literally, it sounds good. And I press play. And then I get some feedback like, hey, you need to listen to this part again. So I'll go back and listen and hear all types of muffled sounds and everything. Like, okay, so maybe I need to go back and listen a little bit more. And then as I get into the creation tools of it and just looking at everything, I just got overwhelmed. Like, who can I ask that can show me stuff? So that's when I just started reaching out to other people, the stuff that I listened to. And the first few that I reached out to weren't the most welcoming, but it is what it is. So I did luckily find some guys that were willing to, okay, hey, do this. Okay, listen to this back and tell me what you think of it and get it to sounding where you want it to sound right and where it sounds more clear and everything. And it's literally just been a trial by fire. And luckily, I'm not somebody that's not afraid to ask questions. So that is, if what I've learned is if you're willing to ask questions and ask for help legitimately, people are willing to help you. And it really helped with all the people that were willing to say, hey, just do this and you'll be all right.
You know, you just mentioned two things that are so important. And when it comes to, because we're amateurs, we're not professionals. We will grow into professionals, but you know, most of us doing podcasting, we don't necessarily have a radio background. So we're learning, like you said, trial by fire, and that's so important. I've realized that the more mistakes I've made, the better I've become at this thing. So if your ego is so big that you can't fail, and it's the end of the world when you fail, then just stay the hell away from podcasts. Don't even bother. Because podcasting is like playing golf. You're going to fail almost every single time you do it. You're going to mess something up. There's no question about it. You got to accept that. It is very rare that you're going to feel like you had a perfect episode. There's always something that you're going to feel that you should have tweaked or done better, and that you improve upon and you actually make those adjustments the next episode. So failure you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with messing up. The other thing that you said that I find so great and so true is you will encounter people that will not be receptive to helping you. There's no two ways about that. For whatever reason, there are a lot of people that are very selfish. They want to hoard knowledge and hoard information, and they don't want to share because they feel like it could be a threat to their position, which is just embarrassing. But you will encounter far more people who will not only be willing to help you, but will actually help you once you ask for that help and you are specific about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I mean, I'll tell you right now, when I first started, Conrad Thompson was one of the first people that I reached out to because I was a fan of his first podcast of Ric Flair, which was Woo Nation. This is before the Ric Flair show, which came a little later. But I was a fan of the show and I was listening and I thought it was interesting. And he kind of started his show right around the time I started Duke Loves Rasslin. And, you know, he and I just started as fans, we would talk about wrestling, but I started asking him a little bit about podcasting and things like that. And he had a radio background. So Conrad was very, very receptive and his time, he shared his time a lot. I can't imagine. I don't even understand how this guy made himself as available as he did. He even came on the show numerous times and then he would give critiques. I asked, you know what I mean? And this is a guy with a show with Ric Flair. Now, I asked some other people who aren't as well known, and in fact, they're not even podcasting today, and they wouldn't even give me the time of day. You know, so Drizzy, I'm with you on that, bro. It's amazing when you finally hit that breakthrough and you connect with people who will actually be helpful.
Like it really re-energizes you when you do find someone like, hey, you're good, I'll help you out. And like it just breathes new life into you when you're doing it. Like, 'cause it got me down for a little bit. Like, why am I even still doing this? I mean, they said maybe I just need to chill. This ain't my lane that I probably need to be in. And those extra, like, you will never know how important it is just to give somebody some type of positive energy, because it can change anything for anybody.
You and I were talking offline about this, and absolutely, and anybody listening right now who has ever done a podcast or is thinking about doing a podcast, you can count on that doubt to creep in and hit you over the head, especially in the beginning, because you put out your first few episodes and you're not going to get a lot of listens. You know what I mean? It's going to be your it might be your significant other, your cousin, maybe the cool dude at work, and that's about it. You're not going to set the world on fire with a whole bunch of listens in the beginning, because you have to learn, and you have to learn also how to build your brand. So again, your ego has to be positioned in such a way that you can be okay with that, because if you keep at it, it will grow and you will see tremendous growth and people will start paying attention. You mentioned a name to me offline, and I wanted to bring this up, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but I wanted to bring this up because it's somebody who I have a tremendous amount of respect for as well. Sir Wilkins of the Jobber Tears podcast.
He was the first person that I actually got some type of positive feedback from, and he's like, here, keep working on your brand. He checks in with me periodically. Like, hey, how you doing? You good? And like, he created it was like a little networking group, a little bit of fun goes on there too. And he's like, here, post your stuff here. Like, so every time you drop an episode, make sure you put it here. We'll make sure that people are looking at it. Anything that you need help with, let me know. If when we started our Instagram page on both my both shows podcast, he was the first person to like, hey, do this and this, and it'll look a whole lot better. The whole network as a whole has sat there and been so helpful to me. It's like they kind of gravitated around, just kind of built like okay, we're gonna teach you all this. Like, even though we're still learning ourselves, anything we learn, we're definitely gonna help you with. It's just all about love and helping other people, putting other people on, because you can't do this by yourself. And it's like we all need to be united. Like it touches me so much.
You know, man, I'm with it. I'm with it. And there's something to be said about building a community. You know what I mean? When it comes to building a community and sharing information, helping one another, recommending one another, it's such a big deal. It's such a big deal. I don't think anyone has ever, or very few people have ever gotten where they are in life all on their own. Somebody had to give you a break. Somebody had to co-sign you. Somebody who was in a higher position at the moment than you were had to say, this person's all right, and kind of, open the door so you can get to that level too, and then build from there. So when you mention somebody like Sir Wilkins and that whole Jobber Tears network, which is a great podcast, great podcasting network, they do live events. They're fantastic. I was so elated to hear you mention them, because I have a lot of respect and I'm a fan of, and I appreciate them as well. Another person who you and I share mutual respect for is Brian H. Waters, right?
Yes, he was the first. Like, when I started getting into pro wrestling podcasts, the wrestling realm was the first one that I listened to.
I mean, that's kind of how did you find the wrestling realm? Because that's such an interesting. Brian has been podcasting for over a decade now, so he truly is like the godfather for us here in that regard there. But how did you find the wrestling realm? Do you remember?
I had just started a new job, and it was something where I was allowed to have headphones in. And I get tired of it. I mean, I'm a DJ also, so I listen to music all the time, and I just wanted something different. And I'm like, well, let's listen to some wrestling. So I typed in pro wrestling, and you get like the Jim Cornette stuff and everything. I'm like, it's cool and all, but I just kind of went through like a wormhole, just trying to find something that just looking just to see what I could find to listen to. And I seen the wrestling realm one. I'm like, well, let's see, this is black people. Let's see what they're talking about. And from that moment, I was hooked. And I don't get to listen as much as I want to because at the same time, I'm consumed so many wrestling podcasts. It's like every day that I learn about a new one, I add it to my list, and then I try to fit all this into like an 8-hour day.
That's funny. I'm the same way, man. It's hard to keep up with everybody, but just to be aware, um, name drop, share the content that you like and what have you. It goes a long way. It goes a long way, and it's so cool that Brian was somebody who has been an influence over you, because he's definitely been an influence over me as well. Shout out to BH Waters. That's my man right there. Good dude. He's been on the show before. Just a really another person who will take the time to actually talk to you and provide some advice and provide some example, and just a really good person. Drizzy, it sounds like we might have WrestleMania going on in the background there. What's going on in the background over there, Drizzy?
Yeah, my two little Usos are arguing and fighting.
So does that mean that they're not going to be the World Tag Team Champions? Are they going to go on as singles instead?
So me and my wife have a running storyline that we've built for the two of them, where they're going to be a tag team, and then the youngest one's going to turn on the oldest one, and then they're going to spend like a lifelong journey of following each other to different companies and beating each other up and having the best matches there. It's almost a consolation for them not being a tag team champion. So
that's a very well defined, well booked storyline there. I mean, damn, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. My good friend Vincent Kennedy McMahon, I know you're listening right now. Make sure you get in touch with Drizzy and sign his two kids there so we can get started on that storyline, because you definitely need some help. There's no two ways about that.
It'll be the biggest rivalry you'll have ever.
For
I don't
sure.
care what you're doing, brothers. Nobody has better feuds than brothers.
That's right. It's personal. That's why. So there's no two ways about that. Drizzy, how important is representation? Because you mentioned that when you were looking up pro wrestling podcasts, you saw two black folk, and you said, "Oh, well, this is interesting," because it's definitely not something that we see too often. At least in the past few years, it's only been more recently that we see more black wrestling podcasts. But how important is that representation?
It means a lot more to me because it's something that I feel like it relates to me. Like just seeing somebody that looks like me talk about something that I feel like I know something about. Maybe they could teach me something. I'm also an open person. If you want to teach me about something, I'm all for it. If you can teach me about it, I'm here. And it's like out of all the other ones that I looked at, I didn't get that vibe. I just got it like they were a writer in the back that knew what was going on. But Brian and these almost felt like, hey, let me tell you about this. Let me teach you this. And I love that feeling. Like it's not this is the news, but it's like okay, check this out. This is what's going on. Like it's a whole lot more inviting.
Absolutely.
More comfortable.
Absolutely. And again, that's who Brian is as a person. So it definitely translates on all of his shows, especially the wrestling realm. That's a good call out there for sure. So Drizzy, let everybody know. I mean, with your podcast, especially because you're somebody who is interested in a lot of things, including anime. So just the way that your brain works in terms of what matters to you in wrestling and what you want to convey to people that they should be paying attention to. What can folks expect when they listen to your podcast?
We are lifelong fans, and we've literally been watching. Some of us, I'm not going to say who's the oldest, but they've been watching since the 70s. They, let's say, at the same time they teach. We kind of just opened that door of like what we think should happen. It's almost fantasy booking, kind of to a certain extent, but we're still trying to find our way in a little bit, but we're kind of getting to a point where we've got our traction where we want to go with everything. We try to cover as much as possible. We also want to give something to the guys that don't get a lot of that we don't hear get a lot of play, like the MLWs, the ROHs, OVW, Paradigm Pro Wrestling, some of the indies like Game Changer and all the GCWs and stuff like that. We kind of want to open eyes to people that you might not see all the time, because we sing for example, we sing the praises of Jonathan Gresham and Shane Taylor, of Jocelyn Navarro. Like, we sing their praises all the time on shows, and I'm hoping that it one day, like, well, let me look this person up, and then they see what great work that they do.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Drizzy, let everybody know if they want to check out your podcast, if they want to find you online, social media, plug away at everything you have going on, because you're a good dude, man. And I know somebody listening right now would absolutely want to follow you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. You can find me at Big Drizzy 502. That is BIGDRYZZY 502 on IG. On Instagram, it's literally all one word: power ups and power bombs, no spaces, no hash marks or anything. And on Twitter, you can find us at PUPB Pod. We drop every Saturday morning. If depending on what's going on, if there's like a big event or something, we might do like maybe 2 episodes, and there'll be a Friday and a Saturday episode. But for the most part, that Saturday is the bulk of our stuff. You can find the Black Barbie and Bernard on Twitter and IG as well. Let me pull up that stuff. I lost it. Where'd it go? Black Barbie 116 and Bernard is BERNIMINGE.
Good stuff. Listen, before I let you go, Drizzy, I got to ask you one last question here, and this is probably the most important question I'm going to ask you. Okay. Because you're a Louisville guy. Did I say that right? Louisville. Yes. Okay, you're a Louisville guy.
You got it. Look at you.
Listen, man, I try to get it right because I know that is the home of the slugger, and I don't want you to get one of those bats and take me out with it. So I got to make sure I do it right. So Louisville is a place that is known for culinary excellence because there's a fusion of down home classic dishes, and then you have the new school. It's really interesting. I don't think a lot of folks realize how strong the food culture is over where you're at there. So if I'm in Louisville and I just want a great meal, where am I going and what am I getting?
You are going. There's 1 or 2 places you can go. I'm going to give you Franco's. It is, I think they have some of the best, just Southern. Like, if you really want to just go and you want to feel like Big Mama in the kitchen with a cast iron, frying up some chicken, got your greens freshly picked, all of it, you're going to Franco's. Like, I got fat just thinking about it.
Okay, so I'm going to Franco's and I'm going to get a nice down home Southern style meal with a Louisville twist. Is there anything other than chicken, fried chicken? Because listen, I have actually been to Kentucky Fried Chicken in Louisville, and ironically, the first time I ever saw a buffet at a KFC was literally in Louisville, and it was the first time I saw fried okra on the menu.
Yes.
Because here in Boston, our KFCs don't generally do that. You know what I mean? I literally have never saw that before, but I was on a road trip and we passed through your neck of the woods there. And sure enough, buddy of mine and I, we stopped at KFC. We stopped at the all you can eat buffet, and we got some okra to go along with our KFC fried chicken. So what else, man? What's more of a Louisville, Kentucky specific type of dish or meal that we should be checking out?
We don't have a specific meal or anything because, like you said, we're kind of a bit of a cornucopia because we're kind of in the middle. We're like the gateway to the South. But I will say KFC isn't the best chicken in Kentucky. The best chicken in Kentucky comes from a place called Indy's. And like, seriously, there is no words that can describe how good that chicken is. You will sit there for an hour just destroying chicken because of it. Like, there's no reason for chicken to be that good there.
Okay, all right. So tell us before you go, how do you order it? So if we're going, say the name of the place one more time and just give us the exact way that Drizzy orders his chicken there.
All right, so you're going into Indy. It's called Indies. You are getting a 50-piece mixed. So that means you're gonna get 25 regular and you're gonna get 25 hot and spicy. And the hot and spicy, it sounds intimidating. It sounds like it's gonna be like burning your mouth, but it's the perfect amount of a little kick and taste. That is like the whole key to it. It's like the taste and they even each other out. It's almost just a perfect mesh.
All right. He said it's a perfect mix of hot and spicy, evens each other out. I'm telling you right now, I have a funny feeling. here, Drizzy, that not only are you describing Indy's chicken, but you're describing your podcast as well. Once again, Power Ups and Power Bombs podcast. This is Drizzy, not the Six God, Drizzy Drake from Canada, but Louisville Drizzy with the Y. Thank you, my brother, for joining us here on the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Rasslin.